I'm going to show you the best settings for Diablo 4 so that you can see items better, enemies better, you can see everything that's going on better. You'll be able to see gatherables out in the open world better, other players much more clearer, enemies and when they're doing attacks, because this game by default, or if you just change it to the highest settings, it's very muddy, it's very gross and dark, and it makes it hard to tell what enemies are doing when they do attacks, because a lot of times you have to dodge enemy attacks in this game, and it's hard to tell what they're doing. So I'm going to show you the best possible settings, not only just for graphics, but for sound and controls, so that you can start playing this game and have all of your settings taken care of without having to worry about it. Now, first up, I'm just going to put something on screen so I can save you a lot of time. If you're just here for graphics, if you don't want to hear why I have these settings, then you can just simply copy what I have on the screen here and just pause the video whenever you want to look at something. And there you go. Now, for the rest of the video, I'm going to explain why I have these settings the way they are, and I'm going to show you why they're set that way, as well as talking about controls, sound, and accessibility. But before we get into any of that, I do need to show you one other thing, and that is something if you have Nvidia. If you don't have an Nvidia graphics card or you're on console, like on console you have to do it on your TV obviously, but for everyone else that is on PC, change your settings to this, okay? Open your Nvidia control console, go to adjust desktop color settings, and change it to the way I have it set here. So increase brightness to 60%, change your gamma to 1.25, and then down here digital vibrance to 70. And what this is going to do is make it a lot easier to see. It's going to distinguish the colors much better. Now, this is not something you can see on my recording, because my video recording software will not show you changes to this. But here's the default, okay? So here's the default right here, and then here's what you need to change it to. And there you go. All right, so with that said, let's get into the why on the options menu. So you push escape, you go to options, and then you go to graphics, and we're going to talk about everything here. All right, so first up is sharpen image. Now, this is defaulted to 6. I played around with this for about an hour, testing every single number and comparing it to gatherables in the wilderness and enemies and stuff. 10 is the best number. Font scale, just leave it at medium. Cursor, leave it at small. You can change these to whatever you want, though. HDR, leave this off. Vertical sync, turn this off. Okay, lock cursor, turn that off, because, well, most of us have multiple monitors, and this would be really annoying. Peripheral lighting, keep this on. Brightness, so here's what you need to do. When you go to calibrate brightness, don't worry about too much about what I have it set at, but what you need to do is this leftmost sigil here, right here on the left, adjust the brightness bright enough to be able to clearly make it out. So for those that don't know, this little sigil, it's got like a curvy line, a straight line, another curvy line, and this straight line going up, but there's a little circle in the middle with a little black dot in the middle. If you can't see that black dot, you don't have it bright enough. So just focus on this sigil, make sure you can fully understand and see it, because the default does not let you, okay? All right, colorblind filter. If you truly are colorblind, I can't help you with that, but go ahead and mess with that. Resolution percentage, leave this at 100. Turn off temporal reconstruction. Also, turn off DLSS. It's not good for this game. Now, this is very important because some people's graphics cards have been destroyed by this game. Many people have lost their 3080 Ti's due to uncapped frame rate. So make sure your max foreground FPS is 1 above your monitor's maximum rate. I'm using 60 FPS monitors because my monitors are from like 10 years ago. So I put it at 61. That means it will always display at least 60. If I set this to 60, it'll be like 59.9, maybe 59 flat, 58.9. Set it to 61. Max background frame rate, this is when you Alt-Tab out. This is when you're browsing YouTube. I like to leave it at the same because it can put more stress on your GPU to lower frame rates depending on how your setup is. I have a very monstrous PC, so I leave it the exact same as foreground. Alright, so next up is quality. Texture quality to high, so you can see things better, especially plants in the ground. Anisotropic filtering off. You don't want that on. That's going to disturb a lot of things like items and enemy animations. Shadow quality. Now, most games you want shadows off, okay? If you have a crappy PC, you do want to turn these off. But to see things much better and more clearly, you need shadows on. This A lot of spell effects involve shadows, and a lot of enemy effects involve shadows. So you want to be able to see shadows, especially if an enemy leaps in the air, or if they're just off screen and they're sending like a big meteor or something on you. Very important to have. Shader quality on high, SSAO quality high. Now, these are for seeing items, these are for seeing details. Very important to have those on so you can know what's attacking you and what's not. And colors, that's also a thing. Fog quality, turn this low. Nothing you can loot, attack, or be attacked by involves fog. Clutter quality, turn it off. Fur quality, turn that low. Unless you really just want the werewolf enemies and the dog monsters to look more detailed. Honestly, this has nothing to do with item drops or monster attacks. It just makes the wolves and furry creatures look smoother. Water simulation, low. Anti-aliasing, make sure that's high. Geometric complexity, low. Terrain geometry, low. Physics detail, low. Particle quality, high. You want particles high so you can see sparkly lootables, especially certain berry bushes. Reflection quality, low. Screen space reflections, turn that off. Turn off distortion and turn off low FX. Okay, next up, now this is important too, sound. Sound is actually very important. There's a lot of settings here you need to change. For one, this game is an extremely loud game, and some sounds are just ear-shattering for headphone users, so turn that master volume down. That's pretty much it. Now, you don't want volume off, because you won't be able to hear item drops or item drops off screen, which is a setting I will show you later. So make sure that it's nice and loud for you. I use a mix amp, so I have my volume artificially higher than normal, so I have mine at 25. But change it to where it's loud, but not where it's hurting your ears, okay? You will need to change your sound output device to whatever it is. Don't set it to default. Now, speaker setup, there is no setting for headphones. There's 5.1 and 7.1, which are technically headphones. I didn't see a difference. I just left it at default. I played around with this for an hour, and I could not notice a single difference. With my sound setup, yours might be different, okay? Voice chat, you can automatically join voice channels if you want to hear people ripping fat bong rips and their, their fire detector, their smoke detector beeping in the background. This is stupid. Just leave this off and manually join. There's a button to join it when you're in parties. So push to talk, very important, so that your smoke alarm is not also beeping. Okay, now, for whatever reason, for me, my voice chat output and microphone were all changed when I installed the game. It had my virtual audio cables, which is what I use for voice changers, so I can sound like a girl gamer or troll people or whatever, right? But I'm just a bit of a troll. Voice chat focus, this will mute the game a bit whenever someone speaks. Now, for me, it's muting the game even at 0, and I turned this up and it stopped muting the game, so I think it's bugged. I don't know. Play around with it, okay? Transcribe, voice chat, I've never used that. I'm afraid to turn that on. I can hear just fine, I think. Only a little deaf. So, subtitles, I like a little bit of background opacity. It makes it easier to see subtitles. You can put auto progress game dialogue on. I've not noticed a difference. Most things auto progress anyway. Screen readers for blind people. Text-to-speech, again, for blind people or something. This is important. Item drop sounds, okay? Normal quality, common items in the game, you really don't want to hear. There's no point. They don't vendor for any gold. You get almost no crafting materials from them, so just turn it to magic it up. Okay? Make sure it's all checked so you can hear stuff drop. Now, this is a very important setting. Play audio on ambient loop. This is default off. You want this on, and you want at least legendary. And what this is that if something off your screen, which you can't see, is, drops, like say you poison some enemies and you run away, and they all die. Well, you want this on so you can turn your butt back around and pick up that legendary or unique. Also, this is a very important one. Play audio on targeting loot. Now, this doesn't mean when you mouse over a legendary drop, it'll make a shimmer. This means that when you mouse over a chest, or an armor rack, or a corpse, that it'll make a gushy noise that knows, hey, you can loot this. So when your mouse is just kind of zigzagging around the screen, you can know if there's any lootables in a room or not very quickly if you hear an audio cue. Also, play audio and error. You can turn this off if you want. I leave it on just because I'm used to it from older games. But it's just that, like, I can't do that yet, or I don't have enough mana. It's one of those kind of little sound errors. Gameplay. Did I change something? I don't remember what I changed. I guess I messed with the volume. Okay, gameplay. This is also important. Turn off screen shade. Also, combat hit flash. I leave this on because I'm used to it. You can turn it off. Enable reduce strobing. This is also important. Highlight when player is obscured. Turn that on. Show all your damage numbers. You can turn off tutorials if you've been playing a while. You can turn off this stuff if you've been playing a while for tooltips. Actually, I like advanced tooltip information on, so I can see every little bit of information. But if you've been playing a while, it can clutter your screen. HUD configuration, whatever you prefer. I prefer censored. That's just how I am. I'm old school. Now, this is also really super important. Turn off item label duration on drop. What this setting does is it adds a timer in seconds to how long you can see loot on the ground. And that would suck. Like, say you kill something and you run around screens for a bit and then you backtrack. If there's something on the ground, you won't be able to see it with this on. And it's on by default. So turn it off. But there's another setting you have to combine it with, and that is item label display push to toggle on off. So what you need to do, this has to be on. You can't change this or this no longer works. Push to show and push to show for 10 seconds. This setting doesn't work. It goes back on a timer. Sometimes in 1 second it'll disappear items. You have to use these settings to always be able to see item drops, okay? And I'm going to talk more about the item label display later in the video. Skill toggle behavior, that's fine. Whatever you prefer. Action wheel activation, whatever you prefer. Hold position mode. I'm old school from Diablo 2. We only had hold mode, so that's what I use. Display median health bars, this is important. And then monster health bars always on. Make sure that the health bars are what's going to show what is an enemy and what is like a random deer or a bunny or something. So always have that on. Now, this is also important too. You want to change these to brighter colors because they're kind of pastel, like faded colors. So make these bright. Now, I changed enemy colors to purple because that's even more easier to see than red. Because there's a lot of red in this game. You know, red blood, red decorations, red screen, red fog. So I changed enemies to purple. And I changed objects to yellow. These are very bright, easy to see. Next up is controls. Now, here's the thing. My controls are going to get a little bit weird. If you've played Path of Exile a bunch or Albion Online, because I'm an Albion Online YouTuber mostly, then these controls will make a little bit more sense, especially for MMORPG players as well. So I'm just going to share what I changed and what I have and explain why. So I didn't change anything in general. Let's see. Down to gameplay. Now, here's the thing. Now, I'm going to very briefly explain why I have my controls this way before I go over them. So let's go into the game. Now, the way I have my controls set up, especially for the rogue, let me just get somewhere where I can get into combat really quick. Yeah, let's just go down here. Because the way I have my layout set up, I can hold certain buttons and tap certain buttons all at the same time. And because of the way the game is programmed and the way just Microsoft and keyboards are, I can continuously spam an attack by holding a button rather than pushing it repeatedly. So, for instance, my basic attack is spacebar, and that may sound weird, but hear me out, okay? So, in most, like, MOBAs, spacebar isn't your auto-attack button. In this case, if I hold spacebar, I will just attack, right? Now, if I'm a melee swing attack, it will go to the nearest enemy and start attacking. Now, the way this works is that whenever I'm attacking, I'm holding spacebar and I'm tapping all my skill keys. So it kind of looks like this. Hold spacebar, Q, 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 E, W, R, D, and I can, when I hold right click, look, I'm holding right click, and it overrides my spacebar. But when I let go of right click, I start attacking again. So I'm holding right click, my spacebar is held down the whole time. Let go of right click, spam Q, I'm holding spacebar the whole time, and everything is, it's optimized. It's especially optimized for rogues, barbarians, sorceresses also. It's very optimal. And what this does is it means I'm always basic attacking when I don't have energy for anything else or everything is on cooldowns. I'm going to go over more of this later. But for now, let's go back to the controls because, again, this makes it where you are, there's no delay between your attacks. You're maximizing your damage per second, okay? So core slot skill, I have this at D. And, you know, this is, I actually changed, like, I'm moving my core skill to Q on the hotbar. So ignore that, alright? I just like it lined up, you know, MOBA style, like Albion Online, like Dota, like League of Legends. But my core skill is on Q because while I'm holding spacebar, that is the most comfortable button for me to push because I have my thumb held down on spacebar, and then my ring finger hits the Q button, so I can spam that while attacking. It's super efficient and simple. I'm gonna go ahead and just grab this loot real quick. There we go. So back to... Oh, there's a skeleton approaching. Let's kill these guys real quick. And you can see that, yes, they're very tanky, but whatever. You know, that's how they are. Okay, so back to controls now. And then I have QWER as my skills. That, again, those are all very comfortable to hit while holding spacebar. It does not cramp my hand ever. Now, this is important. Combine, move, interact, basic skill slot. This is by default on. I have this off because I am used to MOBAs, I am used to Albion Online. So what this means is I have my move bound to right click, just like Albion Online. Interact is left click, so that's looting, opening doors, opening chests, clicking bodies. And because the way I the way I have it set up is I'm just moving my mouse around until I hear a noise for a lootable object, which let's see, yeah. So like you hear this little click noise? You hear that? That means there's a lootable object. So if I go into a room and I just swipe my mouse around and I hear something, boom, I click it and then easy loot, right? That's why I have it set that way. I'm sorry I hit my microphone just now. I don't know if it popped. Okay, so evade. Now this shows it's my middle click button, but let me just talk a little bit about that. Dang it, there's a bear here. Let's kill the bear, and bear's dead. All right, so the middle click is actually, for my computer, because middle click scrolls me up and down web pages, but it's uncomfortable for my hands and my mouse because my mouse is a little chunky. I actually use my computer software to change one of my side mouse buttons to middle click. So technically, that's my middle click button. My thumb on my right hand on my mouse is my dodge roll. Okay, I know in like Lost Ark, spacebar is the dodge roll, but again, I changed it on that game too. Anyway, back to controls. Town portal, I left it at default. Use potion at 1. This is Albion Online. This is, you know, League Dota stuff. Mount, I kept everything else default. Now I don't need dismount and combat like that. I haven't really found a use for those yet. I'm not gonna bother. Action wheel, I have this on 2. You know, just that way I can like leave dungeon quickly. I can do all sorts of little commands. Because that's his next to potion, and I use this pretty often because there's a lot. You do a lot of dungeon diving. So I have it on 2. Now here, again, this is super important. This show item labels, okay? It's default to the Alt key. So let me talk about that and why that's terrible. So the Alt key is the button you use to Alt tab. I don't have any items in my... I hope someone doesn't steal that. Not that it matters. But okay, so if I push Alt, it goes away. If I Alt tab... Well, sometimes when I Alt-Tab, if I Alt-Tab too slowly, it'll disappear the item, right? So what you want to do is make sure that you can see items on the ground, make sure that you can see stuff, and once you do that, because remember in gameplay we changed our options, or was it in game? Yeah, it's in gameplay. We have item label duration on drop at off, and we have this push to toggle on off. What I want you to do is rebind this to something you'll never push ever again, so it's always on forever. So I'm going to rebind this to hold Alt, Control, Shift, and the button above Enter. That would take 2 hands to push. I'm never going to use that combination of buttons ever. So that means I will never accidentally turn items off. They will be shown on my screen forever. With that, system, I left everything default. I don't use the wheel. You know, who cares, chat, whatever. Social, yes, we're going to save that. So social, okay, if you want more people to be around you, which makes things so much easier, keep cross-network play turned on and cross-network communications on. Also, friend going offline is by default off. That's weird to me, so I turn that on, okay. You could turn off friends earning a challenge. That's kind of silly. You don't really need that one on. You do want friend requests received online, unless you just don't want friends, I guess. Clan members, who cares if they come on and offline. Chat background stuff, I changed the clock because I hate military time, because I have to always do the math in my head, and I've never been able to mentally, like, instantly do that math. Whatever, I'm a weirdo, who cares. Turn off mature language filter, okay, unless you're like a little kid or something. You want to leave this off so you can see the naughty gamer words that everyone says. Also, turn off enable quick join. This lets friends just join you willy-nilly, and they might, I don't know, mess something up. So whatever. Now, enable display of local network players. This means if someone in your network is playing, you can see them, and they can see you. So if you want to be anonymous, turn that off. Accessibility is whatever. Again, that's screen reader, text-to-speech stuff, visual. Yeah, you know, change that if you want. You don't really have to change any of that. And again, it's got the item drop sounds on here as well, which we covered earlier. So with that, that is the best possible settings to make the game. This does not make the game look the prettiest. This lets you see objects on the ground, enemies and their attacks, and see, you can see there's a goat there and some dudes shooting crossbows at me. So we know the goat's not a monster. We can see items on the ground that have been left by other players. We can see a nice glow on this bite berry bush. If your graphics aren't set like this, it doesn't quite glow as hard. So you want very good glowing graphics, and we're just gonna kill these dudes real quick. And again, you can, this is just by far the best possible settings to play the most efficiently and to see big monsters and their attacks and all that kind of good fun stuff. So with that said, I'm Swole Benji. Thanks for watching. As always, be a bro and stay swole. Sorry this video's long, but there was a lot to cover. More Diablo 4 videos to come, so make sure that you're subscribed so you don't miss them. And there's a chest down there. Look at that. That one's kind of far. Now, with the settings in a different way, that would be fog. You would just see fog, and you wouldn't be able to see that there's a chest. And also, if these guys were a bit closer, I could actually shadow step from the top of this mountain down there to them. That's a more of a rogue thing, which I'll cover in some other video. Anyway, guys, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Videos coming out like crazy. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss them. I read every comment, by the way. And check out some of my other MMORPG videos. If you don't play Diablo 4, you could try Albion Online. It's free. It's alright, I guess. It's whatever. But anyway, see you later, lads. Take care.